Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. We just did a 30-minute Patreon. I'm already a couple deep in terms of beverages, so this should be fun. We are doing the Moon Knight's Watch. For those who hear it, they'll hear it. Those who don't, won't. And I'm very excited, as this was my favorite installment of Moon Knight, and it's not close by any stretch of the imagination. Episode 4, The Tomb, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, written by Alex Minahan, Peter Cameron, and Sabir Pirzada.
It got
Premiere
real
date on
this
420.
episode.
Fucking awesome.
It got real this episode. And I don't know what I've been expecting from this series beforehand, but like this has kind of been it. This is like, it scratched every itch that I've kind of been wanting.
Yeah.
And we didn't see Moon Knight, like the character, once in this entire episode. He did not go into the suit once. I mean, Khonshu's gone. You know, he's in stone. He's imprisoned right now.
And boy, was that important.
What's the word? The word of the actual like stone thing
Ushabti?
itself. Thank you. Yeah, something along those lines. And I was going to mention
And
that
the Ushabti goes to us.
in episode 3, like at the beginning of this episode, it showed 10 of those, you know, just in like boxes or whatever. But in the like Great Pyramid, like where the gods met, there was like just a little bench that had like a good 100 of them on there. Like, I mean, there was like a fat stack of those, like just sitting there. And I'm like, are those the same thing? Like, are those all banished and imprisoned gods, you know? But then the beginning of this episode kind of made me like, maybe these 10 are like the more important ones. I don't know.
I mean, my money. I think it's important that this did answer one of our concerns last week. You know, Steven says in the first episode, "Oh, the Ennead had 9 gods, not 7," and we were like, "Oh, but we can only account for 7. Where are the other 2?" I think it's probably fair to say that they're encased in Ushabtis. And I feel like the more I say it, the more I feel like it's wrong.
I'll get there. Let me just get the. When do they first say it in the episode? Is it
It's pretty late. I know after he's gotten it out of Alexander the Great, which, by the way, I like felt like a massive history fucking dork whenever me and Emily were watching it, and this man goes, "Macedonian, that can't be right," and I went, "Oh." I was like, "Oh, we found Alexander the Great," and and Emily was like, "What are you?" I was like, "I don't know. I just thought that was a cool moment, and it's really not. It's probably not all that important." But like, he was the
last avatar of Amit, and like it like makes sense that he like conquered so much, you know, and was like so like maybe he was basically Arthur Harrow before Arthur Harrow, just going around everywhere, and everyone was like, "Yeah, we'll follow you, dude."
There it is.
Like, I mean, shoot,
Ushabti.
yeah. Ushabti. Yeah, you were right. But man, yeah, this I mean, yeah, makes sense. You know, all the other gods just they're in stone. We got 10 of them at least that are for sure. I mean, I feel like that like those 10 are for sure imprisoned.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, like they really like it's the opening of the episode too, and like they stay on it for a while. Like, I mean, like show the 10, like
they linger. Like, it's important, you know. They're gonna they're at least showing us where Khonshu is, and they're like, a lot of these, this has happened on multiple occasions. And, this episode was huge.
Free Khonshu, or do they free all of them? Are they like, we don't know which one's Khonshu, so we just gotta like... I mean, the statue looks like Khonshu, though. Like, the action. Oh, yeah. It does look like him, so I guess they could just be like, okay.
Yeah, and it's probably more danger to free all the gods.
Fair. These are imprisoned gods.
Yeah.
So, I guess Khonshu
as much as it's like, oh, they might be on a power trip. I don't know. They're gods. What the fuck am I to say about what their
literal
what
god
on
complexes? So yeah, it'll be interesting. Because I mean, the trailer shot that I keep coming back to is the pyramid. The purple beam blaring out the top of it. And I'm just wondering what that could be. And I mean, Layla has Amit. She has Amit. Arthur does not. I guess, did Layla fully escape? We don't know.
I suppose we do not.
I mean, she was hiding. She saw what happened at the end, I would assume she gets out. I don't know. It would be really crummy if we just start next episode with like a random guard catching her and being like, yo, where are you going? And then she's, and then like Arthur just gets Amit, right away.
True. But this is also assuming that we know full well what's happening at the end of this episode.
True.
We can.
What a mind fuck of an ending. No, like, it's just purgatory. Like, I am like 80%, no, more like 90% sure that this is just like in his head. It's him like reflecting on everything, and he's gonna wake back up.
Yeah,
and
I don't
this is
think
all
it's
just gonna happen in a split second or something like that.
I don't think it's that his life is an amalgamation of his time in the psych ward. I think the psych ward is an amalgamation of all of his experiences in reality.
Yeah. And I mean, Steven being there with Mark physically, I don't think that there are truly two of them, and that would just be a really like kind of hit on DID. Like, it would just be like, like not real. But I mean, we get Jake there most likely in the third one.
Yeah, and that second sarcophagi.
Man, the credits, I got to start like paying attention to them, because like like the previous episodes, I kind of look at them like, oh, these are like cool credits. I'm just kind of washing through them, whatever. But like, I've never like paid attention to them. But, like this one, they show a picture of Layla and her dad in a fuchsia scarf, like just floating around like there. Like the three different looks of, the costume, it showed Mark, it showed, Steven's look, and then just another menacing ninja kind of looking like suit. And I'm like, okay, that's dope if that's going to, come into play later, and that's what it's going to look like.
He does have a couple more costumes in the comics that haven't quite been, but they're mostly plays on the first one. They're mostly plays on Mark's look with like a black face. Well, not wait. No,
not that blackface.
No, yeah,
yes,
my bad. But like more of a black body armor accent every once in a while, which I think it's interesting. I prefer the all white just because it's kind of the whole vibe of Moon Knight. He wants him to see him coming. It's kind of the idea. But I really do dig all the suits and the potential for whatever they're gonna put before us. How about Layla in this episode?
Coming more and more of a candidate for becoming Moon Knight, I'll say. That was my prediction last episode.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not. After this one, I'm feeling a little less,
Which, isn't that funny? That at
but
the end of this one, where he got shot in the chest twice, you're feeling more comfortable about him sticking around?
Because I feel, okay, new prediction here. Khonshu saved Mark last time when he died, and the Ushapati that they have now is Amit, and I don't know how Layla would know how to wake Amit up or like but like if he becomes Amit for a little bit to like
That'd be
save
pretty
him,
powerful.
and then
That's how.
and
he
then like
stays.
once Khonshu is freed, then they like just do a little classic switcheroo, and Layla is Amit and Mark is Khonshu.
I hadn't even considered her becoming Amit's avatar.
So that's my current prediction for this episode is that Layla will in turn become Amit, or Amit could be the one to save Mark from death here. Because I don't think it'll be Khonshu. I think they still have to free him, and I don't think that can happen. But I feel like Amit might be the one to save him. I don't think he just wakes up on his own, is the thing. Like, I mean, he got shot twice in the heart. Kind of poetic, one for Mark, one for Steven, to kill him, like to kill both of them, like in the heart.
Right.
But I don't think he wakes up on his own. Like, I don't know. Maybe they'll play with something that like Khonshu was still inside of him somehow, but I don't know. Like, I don't think that's the way they'll go. I don't know. I'm curious on how. I don't know. The scales don't lie, and that we didn't like. Okay, I remember was it maybe the first episode whenever like the scales were going back and forth, and it didn't arrive at a solution or whatever, and the camera rose up a little bit, and then it made a noise that like it did arrive at a solution or something. And then now, when he was saying, like talking to Layla, when Arthur was talking to Layla, he like, I have read him, and the scales do not lie. It cuts right then and there before he explains whatever.
Yeah, you suspected some weird goings on with that in the first episode, and I was kind of like, I don't know, it seems pretty.
And then
dry.
Layla goes into the room. I mean, she's pissed at him because she thinks that he killed his father, or that, he killed her father. Obviously, she's going to be pissed. But, like, what if Arthur was like, nah, this dude is, like, he's got bad, like, he's bad. Like, that's what it arrived at, like, I don't know. I feel like she's pissed just because of her father. And that, I mean, that's what she immediately asks for and asks about. But I don't know. Maybe he says, like, the scales do not lie. Like, he's good deep down, but you have to like set him free of Khonshu or something like that.
It could be. Well, they show us his therapist persona in the purgatory, as I will come to know it, and he's genuinely caring. When he's getting tackled by the two, like, not guards, I can't remember what they're called in that setting, but and he's like, don't hurt him, he's not like, it's not his fault, like he's which
I mean, if this is just all in Mark's and Steven's head, like, why would they make Arthur that way? And I guess, like, I don't know, Layla was kind of acting a little strange too. Like, Layla wasn't just Layla. But every other character that was there kind of acted like their character. Like Donna, or whatever her name is, that was like in the gift shop, like his boss or whatever, like acted just like she did in the beginning. But Arthur, that's what I didn't understand, is like, why would Mark perceive Arthur this way? I guess in his state of mind, he's just going to hate whoever his therapist is because he doesn't like talking about his feelings at all. So I guess maybe it just makes sense that like he just places Arthur there.
Right. That would make sense. I did have similar questions, these as the characters popped up in his little bit there at the end. We saw Donna, and we saw Layla as another patient there. You won. We won.
Interesting thing about the bingo, by the way. every letter was normal, Bingo, but he called T16, like T as in Tommy, like T. And like it was the only one that didn't make sense at all. And then also there was like I don't think it's really, I'm not going this deep into it, but like some of the letters, like B was like way out of the B range. Like B is 1 to 15 in Bingo, and he was like B32 or something like that. Like where it couldn't have, and I mean, I guess they're in like a psych ward or whatever, and like it's a, another patient calling it off, but like
it could be an example of the lack of attention to that part of the illusion. Like it's but T16,
Sweet 16, T16, T, like I'm like T, I'm like, right. Where's the letter T in Bingo, or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to like everything that was in there. I'm trying to think of like what it could tie back to, because like the movie was like their adventure that they went on, basically. The stat, the little
Tomb
action
Buster
figure of Moon Knight.
You Dr. Stephen Grant.
Yeah, like he saw the cane. He saw the shoes that
sandals.
Arthur wore. Yeah, like I mean, he was seeing like everything in there was that meant something. And I don't know what the hell this hippo means.
That is the Egyptian goddess of Tawret, and she is known as the goddess of childbirth and fertility.
Oh.
And is in many cases viewed as a goddess of rejuvenation and rebirth.
I see.
Yes. Feels pretty important to our boy who just got shot in the chest twice.
This is fair. But I wonder if this is how we get Jake. If they're like, you're not whole right now. You can't go back like this. You have another. Where's the other? And they're like, other. And then like enter Jake, however his personality is. I feel like he's going to be pretty brutish. I don't know, like just off the vibe I get. I feel like Mark has some reservations when it comes to violence. He will resort to it if need be, but I feel like he has some reservations. Steven will not fight at all. He does not want to do that at all. But I feel like Jake is just going to be like, I don't care. I need to get this done. This is the only way I know. I feel like that's going to be Jake in this show, at least, my guess. But I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the way they're going to head with him right now. It's feeling kind of unclear. One thing I am encouraged by from this episode is the explanation of, Layla's father dying. It points directly to his origin story. It is his origin story. His partner goes crazy, gets greedy, and starts firing at everybody, and kills them execution style. Even tries to kill Mark, but Mark makes his pact with Khonshu. I should have died that night, but I didn't. And it means this happened before he met Layla.
Because that's why they did meet, and she figured that out, because you just had a guilty conscience or
Which
whatever.
Means they got married, bro. How long has Mark been Moon Knight?
Oh. I mean, I would have... Oh.
Maybe it happened during the blip.
Maybe Layla blipped, but Mark didn't.
I've never related this to the MCU or thought about it in that context, because it doesn't seem it's not relevant to this show specifically. This is more of just a general curiosity, as it were, and because like him being Moon Knight maybe he hasn't been Moon Knight the whole time, but he's at least been connected to Khonshu for the whole time they've known each other.
And like just being Khonshu's avatar, though. Like at the moment that Khonshu saved him, he was his avatar, right? Like,
yeah. So I mean, he had to have become Moon Knight, because that's what Khonshu does with his avatar. They serve.
Damn, I never even thought about the blip, because that's that's just 5 years that he could have been Moon Knight.
Well,
Like,
it's just
with or
5
without
years
Layla.
that, like, it's a built-in 5-year period where a bunch of shit we didn't know about could happen. Because, like, everyone was focused on one pretty massive thing.
True. I wonder what, like, the Egyptians, like, God's view is of the blip. Like, or if they blipped. Because
we have no idea how far this expands.
Does a god blip? Do, like, Celestials blip?
I gotta guess that it's in the known universe. I think that puts Celestials in play, but I don't know about the things that exist in alternate dimension sort of thing.
Because I guess it was just what Thanos knew of. He's like, all life. Well, I've never thought about if God's blip.
My thing is that they probably didn't until we're told otherwise. Like, I don't think they'll acknowledge if Tawret was like, "Oh shit, I'm fading away." I don't know. It'd be hilarious if we open next episode with Tawret just explaining her story.
Man, I love the Steven and Layla, spark of the love story here. Like, we got that cue last episode.
Steven's too nice, man. He's a king. You smell like him, and they lean in, and he's like, "Hey, I got to be honest with you, my boy. He there's a reason he's keeping you at arm's length. I can't do this until you know that." They end up kissing a little bit later anyway, and I love that. Mark gives him a good old sock on the kisser.
Oh man, yeah, that was good. And an early foreshadowing. He's like, "What, are you gonna drown us right here?" And then, like, I could see the shot. It showed him laying in the water there and then, like, sinking very, very, very far into purgatory. I can see him, like, Deadpool style, like, coming right back up. Like, yeah, just going all the way through, and then, like, him waking up and be like, "Ah!" Or, like, and just, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be, like, do you think all of this is happening in kind of, like, an instant? Or, like, do you think everyone will leave the tomb and he will, like, kind of, like, wake up on his own, just there, like, on his own?
I think it's kind of the idea that, Amit's last avatar's resting place is going to be Khonshu's last avatar's resting place. Until,
you think they put him in the freaking tomb? I mean, like, at the end there, like, that's where Steven is and everything. Like, maybe they just take Alexander's body out. They just put him in there.
Yeah, they did. They put him in the tomb. That's why it's called the tomb.
Damn, that's kind of dope. You get you kicked out Alexander the Great from his tomb to take it, like, for a little bit.
After you throat fucked him with your arm.
And he reached in there. I mean, yes, all of his stuff was taken out, so, like, he didn't have much in there, but still.
But, hey, man, it's mummified. Like, it's preserved to a degree.
I mean, I think the only thing they leave in there is the heart. They take out everything else, because they were kind of showing that with the whatever those creatures were, like, attacking, everybody. They showed it. They slice you open, they take out your intestines, they put them in the jars, and then they pick your brain out through your nose. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that they leave everything but your heart, because that's where they believed your soul, like, was.
I think you're right. I think I've heard that too. But
it would be, yeah. I mean, he was. I thought it was just going to be right in his mouth, because he's like, I guess, Alexander was the voice of Amit. I thought that was just going to be, like, right there, but then, like,
he was like elbow deep in that man's mouth.
Yeah.
But we've talked a lot about the,
Mr.
like,
Great.
Sorry, Mr. Great. We've talked a lot about the Marvel side of stuff. Let's talk about just, like, how good and well made this episode was.
Visually, they did it. like they did it this episode.
This was the one, you know, like I thought one was mostly that distinctive style. There was a little bit of that harkening back. Second one, I was like, that feels pretty typical MCU. Third, I was like, we're kind of half and half. This one, I was like, oh my fucking God. Some of the shots they were getting off, like we discussed this recently on one of our 52-year journey through film podcasts, you know, it doesn't even have to be the epic shots. The little close-ups. There's this, when Arthur Harrow's speaking to Layla, and it's just her silhouette against the dimly lit background, and it's just the silhouette of her face. Oh my fucking God. There's a scene when Stephen's reaching with Alexander the Great's tomb, and it's just his face, and it's him trying to open it, and like it's fucking gorgeous. Like it's a beautiful shot, and it hasn't. It's just 1 second, quick cut, bye, and it's beautiful. And I mean, obviously, the imagery of him falling backwards, gorgeous.
Oh, him sinking down, yeah, like that was cool. I mean, like this visually, like it was very noticeable that like they stepped it up here. I think maybe it was just because there was no real like true action here. There was no Moon Knight in costume jumping around like CGI all like. Right. It was just real people in very, very cool locations, and they were like, we have to shoot this cool. I mean, there's no other way we can do it. And I don't know, they did it well.
I've been seeing a lot of complaints about how the genre blending they're doing isn't compatible. And in past episodes, I felt that more. But for this episode, I feel like that complaint doesn't apply. There's some silly stuff, but at this point, if you know Steven, you got to stop complaining that he's not the serious dude you want him to be. He's goofy. He's funny. He's cute. He's a cutesy fucking dude. And the shit he says is adorable. And, you know, when he's not with Layla here, and the sequence Layla goes on in the middle of this movie after they split up is, frankly, one of the strongest scenes in the entire MCU for me.
Like after she finally throws the whatever off of her, just gets up, and they just like for a minute straight just show her like struggle, like just like holy fuck, I just went through that, and like she's just laying on the floor like breathing hard, like, you know, like before they show Arthur like that's been looking at her or whatever. I mean, it was like a good probably 30
the
seconds.
Horror sequence right before it when she's running away, and she that part too, but like when she's running away and she's trying to sneak across the little stones that are sticking out from the wall, and then the dude's arm reaches out from behind and tries to grab her, and then she makes it to the end. She's like, oh, cool, I'm safe. And then they hit you with the hardest, scariest moment in the MCU so far. And what I think is probably its first genuine jump scare. But it's a jump scare that's done exceedingly well. Like, I was like, because it's not a horror movie that relies on jump scare. If you can hit me with one jump scare that knocks me off my ass, you did good. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a good type of scare for me. And that one, I was like, oh fuck.
I thought she was like gone for a second there. Like she was like, it was dark, and I'm like, no way they kill her like this, right? And then like she comes back out, and then like taken back in, and I'm like, oh, like I don't know. Like I was trying to think of like what that creature is, you know, or if it's just like Amit's protect, you know, just like guards that they were talking about in the beginning, because they mentioned by their masks, like Layla was like, oh, judging by their masks, these look like the people who are supposed to be protecting Amit's tomb. And whenever Layla is like pinned down, she grabs the mask like off of the creature and then like smacks, you know, it doesn't look like the exact mask exactly, but I don't know. I was just trying to think of like why there are creatures here. Like maybe Arthur tried to resurrect Amit, but it was the wrong, like they went to the wrong tomb, because seemingly I believe like Stephen was the first to find this tomb. Like he just knew, he like, and whenever he drew like the Eye of Horus, and then like the gold reflected it onto the ceiling, like, oh my God, like just like they didn't need to do that, you know, like, but they did. Like that, just so many little things in this episode, like the gold reflections and everything like that were so cool.
It was just so. This was the most distinctive episode of the show visually, even more so than that first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go as far as to say this is probably even better than any episode individually of Loki, of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Maybe definitely Hawkeye. Probably WandaVision. Like, this is one of my favorite MCU Disney Plus television shows and episodes of that genre so far.
I mean, I do not feel like I'm watching a Marvel show.
No.
Like, at all. And I'm like in love with that. Like, I love that, like, this is its own thing. It's not connected to everything yet. You know, I don't know if it may be. But like, even with the end there, where you're kind of getting reality bending sort of, you know, thing there. Pretty sure it's just
vibes.
Purgatory there, but like, it still doesn't really feel that Marvel. I don't know. I love this show, and we still got 2 more episodes left. Like, is the thing. We haven't gotten to the big.
If they operate at this level for the next 2 episodes, this will be the best MCU Marvel show. Like, if they can tie this story up. My only complaints, if you remember through the first 3 episodes, I was like, there were some complaints and reservations I had visually, but my biggest gripe so far has been a lack of advancement in story. It's been a lot of setup week to week, and I've been okay with it as long as they could start doing what they did in this episode and really push it forward and really elevate the story to a place it hasn't been yet.
Is Arthur dying? Because Layla was like, yeah, you're dying too. And like, he's like sweating a lot. And I don't know if it's just because they're down in a very hot tomb or whatever. But like, when he shoots Mark or Steven, like, Arthur doesn't look like too good. And like,
no shit.
I don't know. There was a line that Layla said whenever they were talking. And like, she said something along the line of like, well, you're dying too. Something like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, does he have some condition or something like that he's like, yeah, well, you're obviously dying too. Like, Arthur says he's in agony, more pain than anyone can bear. But he still hasn't told you the truth. Well, and then Layla says, well, you're obviously dying too. I guess maybe that's just like kind of a threat maybe that she's making towards him.
I think it was, well, you're obviously dying too. He's like, tell me the truth.
Not dying too, you're just dying to.
You're dying
like,
to.
It's not T.O.
Which might be on maybe her delivery.
Yeah. Not T-O-O. It is just T-O in the subtitle.
Because I was like,
that clears it up. Thank you.
I mean, there could be, I think they put more emphasis on his limp with the cane in this episode, and sort of I did think there was something different about him. There felt like a weakness to him that we hadn't really seen so far. He kept himself at a distance for like the entire thing. He does the dirty work there at the end, but he's leaning on his cane. Like I don't know. There was something off about him this episode, but
I guess it could just be like, maybe he walks around with glass everywhere he goes in his sandals. Like, he just needs his cane.
I forgot that. That's definitely why he has the cane, right?
I would assume so. I don't know. I mean, I can't. They haven't hinted at anything else. Like, maybe when he was
Moon Knight's Khonshu's servant,
and then whenever like Khonshu left, he tried to do some Moon Knight stuff still, and then like got injured. I don't know, but I feel like it's probably just the glass. Yeah, I don't know. And that's interesting. Like, the thing is like, because he has the scarab, and like it points him to the tomb, and like while Arthur walks into the room after Steven finds it, he's holding the scarab, and like it's leading him in the direction or whatever. And like, how did he just not find it right away? Is my thing. I guess it was a maze, it was the Eye of
Yeah.
Horus or whatever, and like they didn't realize that. And
I
you
guess
talked
it
about
it probably points directly to it, but there's not a path directly
I
to
see.
it.
That's fair. Because he talked about like there being 6 different points, on the Eye of Horus that represent the 6 senses. And like I was wondering if there are 6 different tombs in this one thing. Like what are the 6 other points?
I think there are other tombs. They're just not the tomb that's important. This would be the tongue, therefore he's the voice. Is kind of the notion I got from that. They went to the end of the tongue, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's what spiral. I thought. I'd imagine there's probably a plethora of
maybe
tombs
just the other avatars of Amit or something. Like, is this
maybe? But I think that this was the only one that was like fit for a pharaoh. Like
True.
Stephen walked in there and was like, "Oh shit, this has got to be a big one, like Nefertiti or." Like he's like, oh fuck, I'm about to make a huge discovery, and then it was like bigger than he could ever imagine, which was just like so fucking cool for Steven. I was so happy for him because, like, frankly, he needed a win, and finding Alexander the Great's tomb is pretty much as winning as it gets. After kissing Layla and doing everything you've ever wanted to.
That was Steven's first kiss,
right?
Like that was his first kiss, which is just like super. I don't know. Steven's just super cute, man. He's just like adorable.
I love him. I love him to death.
Like grapple all the way down. He falls. He's like, "Oh, I'm aces. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." Just like getting up and like just his little like quirks. Look, Layla, we won. Like just laughing while she's obviously pissed off at him. He's like,
and the shop to goes to us. Like, this dude's fucking hilarious.
Can he hear me? And he's like, no, I hope not. Or like, whatever.
Alexander Gray? No, I sure hope not. And he's just got the worst British accent. It's hilarious. He throws amazing. It's amaze. Amazing's more like it.
Man, yeah, he's just, I don't know. I love Steven, and Layla's loving Steven. The deal, everything's out on the table now. Layla knows, what Mark's been hiding, the deal that they made, like once this is all said and done, Mark has said he's just going to give the body to Steven. I don't really know if that's how it works, is the thing. I don't think he can really just do that. But I mean, like, that's what she thinks, I guess, like that she's just going to have Steven. But, and yeah, this episode was just like, I guess, like, I don't know. Like, it was just done so well. And I was trying to, like, the room that had, like, where that creature, like, I don't know, it just killed that one guard and, like, in, like, stuff. There was, like, a lot of stuff in there. And they focused in on one part whenever Steven climbed up. And he, like, walked away, but they kept the camera, like, on something for a little bit. I can't remember, like, what it was. But I don't know, probably nothing important. But
interesting. Now, the thing that I was most floored with in this episode, as it's been, Oscar Isaac the last couple weeks has dominated, and he did this episode too. But May Kalamawi, the actress for Layla, she fucking killed this episode. Like, it felt like a Layla centric episode. Oscar Isaac was obviously there for most of it, but it was explaining why Layla has interacted with Mark the way she has and Steven the way she has the whole time. And it was really, really important for me and further enjoying Layla's character, and I really, really do after this episode, especially. Like, that was like, goddamn, I'm loving her as a character. And Ethan Hawke bodied it again. It's just the acting week after week it's impeccable. Like, I think that a lot of MCU fans get really excited when the characters we really like get brought to life in a fun and exciting way. Like Spider-Man No Way Home, there was speculation that it'd be nominated for Best Picture amongst MCU fans, and it's like, no, probably not. But there are people being like, these performances deserve Emmys.
Mm.
And that I don't disagree with.
I mean, Oscar Isaac is having to play like 2 different characters and then now probably 3 next episode. And like the way he transitions between them effortlessly and has different looks to him, you know, it's kind of like Superman,
the way he
like the Superman-esque, like
sedated.
Yeah. And like whenever Khonshu was speaking out of him and like the meaning of the gods and like how physically, you know, like everything, like it's insane that he's like, we just kind of, I think of like just Steven and Mark as like different, just they're different people, you know, completely.
Oh, yeah.
But like, that's just Oscar Isaac acting, you know, like that's him just doing his job. Like
that's so
shit.
incredibly hard. Like for me to like fully know who's in control at all times. And, you know, there is obviously the accent of it all, which is definitely making it easier. But
the physical look, his face.
Look at his face.
Different.
Look at his face. He's doing something different, you know, like that's for sure. And
man,
he's just been fucking killing this role, these roles.
I hope Layla becomes maybe not like becomes Amit necessarily. I just hope that she sticks around for a long time.
I think she will. I don't think I swear, bro, if they go full Aaron Kellyman with it and offer in the season finale, I'm going to be pissed. That will be that for me. I will no longer be engaging with Disney Plus. No, I'm just kidding. I obviously will. But I would be really mad because
it's insane to see the way people have been reacting to this show, like on Twitter and stuff. Like people calling it a D+ show, the worst Marvel show they've put out, like blah blah. And I'm like, I don't understand like some Marvel fans, like just because it's not Iron Man and Thor and like the people you want and Infinity Stones and dealing with the multiverse and stuff, like can you just not take a great story and like just accept it? You know, like this is just a great story. Visually it hit this episode. There's like emotional resonance. There's like everything you want in a TV show. And just because there's no like Marvel twist on it or whatever, like
yeah, the only gripe with the show I've understood is that it's been comics loyal to a degree, but the characterizations of Mark and of Steven, or Mark's been mostly on the nose, but Steven specifically has been pretty different than how he has been in the comics. And there's a guy I follow on Twitter who's pretty famous on comic book Twitter. His name's like Ollie. It's like at the Quiver or something. And I think he's got a lot of really good takes. And he kind of hit it on the head that comic book movies and shows don't have to be 1-to-1 adaptations, but they should remain loyal to the bones of a character. Like the character that people have come to know and love. If you want to take liberties with the characterization of a character, you need to create a new character.
I see.
And I was like, you know what? I can get behind that. You know, like that's a fair take. I will say I don't mind it as I'm not in love with the character of Moon Knight. Like there are people who feel like this is a pretty rough adaptation, especially given that Marvel Comics as it is runs with the MCU adaptation and it becomes what the character is. And a lot of Moon Knight fans are like, "Oh no, this is what my favorite character is from now on." And like that perspective I can understand. I personally don't mind it.
I mean, like I don't think comic books should be the script, you know, like because then what do you you know, like there's nothing that's going to shock you or whatever. Like it's just all there. So obviously they're going to have to change it and mold it differently. And, you know, there's so many things that they're going to have to intertwine with the MCU once that happens, you know, eventually, even if it does, maybe this is just a standalone story completely. But I didn't even think about like the character, like that is kind of a little important to hold true.
It's certainly important, you know, and I think they took liberties to differentiate them to more extreme degrees. Like they're vastly different characters, whereas in the comics they are different, but like it's subtle differences. They're not like oh, obviously this British man is all of a sudden Stephen Grant. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh my god, I didn't even realize this. They updated IMDb. Amit used to be like Sophia Dana used to be in 4 episodes or whatever. She's only credited for 2 now.
Interesting.
Is Beck, was that one of the gods in the temple, or was that the storage unit guy?
I don't think I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you.
Because he's credited for 2 episodes, and it would be awesome if your prediction for him coming back, came true.
That would be pretty crazy.
Because I remember Osiris, him being a god. God.
Not Tauret there.
Mm-hmm.
Was she
credited for 3, 4, 5, and 6? Apparently.
Okay, I was gonna say because she was not one of the avatars at the meeting. Tauret was not named, so it is interesting that she'd be appearing here at all, and it's interesting to find out what capacity it is in.
Interesting.
But I will say, given all those gripes that some people have with the adaptation of the character, which I do understand, I will say that this is a vastly... I think this is one of the most important MCU shows in a while, or it is probably the most important MCU show, as it is brand new. This isn't a character based in stories we've seen before. It's the groundwork for what we're going to see with a lot of the introductions of characters with She-Hulk and with Secret Invasion will tie into a lot of characters we're familiar with, but the Skrulls will largely be more developed on. And I think that's a really important little distinction for the show, is it is the first of its kind as it is relevant to the MCU. It is still kind of finding its footing.
Because if someone, say he pops up in a movie, later on, and he's just as Moon Knight, and you see him switching personalities and stuff, you're gonna be like, what the heck, what the heck is going on if you've never seen the show? But you can, if you haven't seen WandaVision and you're going into Doctor Strange, that's kind of, I'd say WandaVision's pretty crucial. Well,
we speculated that, it would kind of be small things that you didn't need to see to, she became the Scarlet Witch. You knew she was going to become the Scarlet Witch. She's Wanda Maximoff. Oh, Sam Wilson's Captain America now. Cool. That development happened. We saw it in Endgame. The shield was passed to him. Now he's this in Captain America 4. But with the inclusion of Billy and Tommy in Multiverse of Madness, that means you need to know what happened in WandaVision, or else you're going to be like, who the fuck are these kids? How are they relevant to Wanda? Oh, they're her kids? I don't have any emotional resonance with that part of the story. And that's going to reflect poorly on my rating of it, how I feel about it. And it's like, well, you didn't watch WandaVision. If you watch WandaVision, you'll get everything you need to out of Wanda's side of the story.
I guess Falcon and Winter Soldier, you see Cap hand the shield off. So, I guess you could kind of piece together that he becomes Cap, but you wouldn't see how he actually gets there. Yeah. But yeah, this one,
Hawkeye, next time Kate Bishop shows up, people will be like, who's this? If they didn't watch Hawkeye.
True. Any, do you have any future predictions? I guess I haven't asked you.
I'm a hold on to a prediction I made last week and go ahead and apply it to this next one. I think we see Jake. I think now it's officially, it has to happen this episode, because if it happens in episode 6, it's like, we've got a lot to do here.
That's true.
I think Khonshu gets let out at the end of next week. I don't think that's an early development. I think this episode will largely be spent getting out of the purgatory, and it'll be them getting out of the purgatory, explaining to Layla what happened at the dig site, and then releasing Khonshu in sort of a 3-act sort of thing over the course of the 50 minutes, getting out of purgatory, explaining to Layla, letting Khonshu out, or maybe reversing the last 2. And then the last one's all gas in terms of trying to stop Arthur Harrow from what he's doing and doing all that.
Be sick if while Khonshu is imprisoned, that he can still like go around and watch these events from happening, but he has no power to like interfere or like interact at all. If he can only stay in the dimension that he's in, and he has none of his powers. So like what's the worst thing for a god is not to just put him asleep or like keep him there. It's like to strip them from all of their godly powers and let them like still walk around and like see what's happening. I think
that would be just a kick-ass punishment. My only concern is that we did watch him crumble.
Fair.
I
guess that was in the dimension of our dimension, though.
Yeah. True. I get the impression, based off the imagery they used at the end of last week, like it seemed like he was crumbling, and that was what was forming.
That's true.
The little Ushabti.
True. Interesting. Can you hear us? We think so. Maybe they don't know what happens.
I don't think they do. Because I don't think anyone who's ever been entrapped has been let out. I think Khonshu will be the first. Like I think that'll be,
or Amit,
especially judging after seeing that there were 9 there before Khonshu. Now that we know that, and they are sitting there, my impression is that we think so. Is like, yeah, well, they might be able to. Shit, man, we don't know. We haven't talked to them. And I think that's pretty set in stone.
Set in stone.
No pun intended. But yeah, man, I don't know what else to say about this episode. I thought it was damn good compared to the other 3. And if the other 3, if the last 2 are on the same level as this, it will be the best back half of an MCU show, at the very least. Because, wow, was this fucking good.
I mean, if we want to hop into these ratings, I mean, for enjoyment of this episode, I mean, this like took it to a whole nother level here. Like
this is the one, we talked last week, and we've talked in weeks past about like what an MCU 5 is. This is it. This is an MCU 5. I said, like, what did we give last week?
A 4.25.
All right, cool. I said that's probably about the average that you can get. 4.5 maybe on the high end for enjoyment. There are a few things that take that and elevate it to a different level, and I know it the second I watch it. And this was that. I enjoyed this on a whole other degree, and maybe it's because I am comparing it to the other 3. Like, I am like, oh, fuck, this is so obviously the best episode. This is so obviously my favorite that it has to be a 5. And I don't doubt that it's a 5. I'm certain. The acting, the character development, the progression of story in a way that we haven't yet.
Everything was firing on all cylinders here. History nerds, like, that was just cool. Like, the history
Macedonian,
of it.
that can't be right.
And like,
I mean, they always insisted on being called Egyptian, but
like the Eye of Horus, like being used there was just cool. And I don't know, maybe those 6 points, maybe we'll see like Arthur go through the tomb, like it'll flash back and show him like going to every other point or whatever and seeing what's in there. Maybe we'll get some even more history, like cool history. But yeah, I don't know. I'm nowhere else other than a 5 for this episode. It was just, I don't know. I had to watch it like right away again. I watched it and then I'm like, damn, that was like
run that back.
Amazing. I'm watching that again.
Yeah, this one just hit. And like I questioned as we were progressing through the show, am I tired of the MCU format? Is that why I'm not digging this? What's the problem? And no, it was that the other 3 simply weren't as compelling. This one hit, and I knew it. I always have this question, I have this current theory with rap music. I wasn't really feeling J. Cole's last release. Wasn't really feeling Kanye West's last release. I wasn't really feeling Drake's last release. But hey, when Kendrick Lamar drops on May 13th, if I'm feeling that, I know it's their fault. You know what I'm saying? If I'm feeling Kendrick, I know it's their fault. If I'm not feeling Kendrick, I'm going to go, you know what? Maybe I'm just bored with rap music because that's just that. I have a feeling I won't be, and I have a feeling that Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is going to knock me on my fucking ass.
He's got some in store for us, I think.
Oh, I'd say. I'm very excited about it. But that's kind of where I was at with this. I was like, am I getting tired of the format? Am I kind of cooling on these MCU shows? I was like, maybe so. And then this episode made me go, you can do it. You can make me go, holy fuck, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated that from this episode.
And man, talk about the genre here. We got great horror. We got great supernatural. I don't know, fantasy. I guess
definitely
we said,
supernatural.
I think
I'd say this took the supernatural to a different level with the seemingly raised from the dead entities that we see.
Very true. I mean, as an MCU show, like I think that that's the thing. This episode just stands well across like all television. Like this was just a great television episode. Like not just Marvel. Like I don't want to really put it on just that scope. Like I would just watch this to watch this.
Oh, absolutely. This was a good episode of television, you know, and as far as the genre blending is concerned and the places they do take it, that horror, the supernatural, the fantasy, and this mind-bending sort of just like what the fuck's going on. Like I put this every bit as high as that first episode and probably even higher with like 4.8 4.85. Like I think this hit on every bit as high a level, if not higher.
I'm comfortable there. Yeah, I was not quite. I don't know what a 5 would be. Trying to think of like
I don't think we've gotten a 5.
Yeah, I mean maybe like I'm trying to think of back like in all the shows across, you know, Loki, WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, and Hawkeye, if we've gotten 5 in the genre. And maybe like the season finales, you know, where like the season finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier, like when Cap becomes Cap and like he flies through the window, you have everything you want there. It's like boom. It's like I don't know.
I'd say Loki, in terms of the genre, this epic action fantasy. I think they knocked that out of the park pretty much week after week.
That's fair. Okay.
As far as the genre is concerned, you know, and that felt so much more focused in terms of genre. That's the only reason I can't comfortably give this a 5, is that like it is genre blending, and the comedic moments don't take away from the horror, but they certainly take away from it being a horror episode. You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes multiple things, and you know, there are moments when, as soon as you insert comedy on multiple occasions, and there are moments where Steven is objectively, while he's adorable, pretty cringy. The comedy kind of falls flat, and therefore it gets hurt a little bit. Like, and that's just how it is. But so yeah, like that's the only reason. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as far as like this, the action is concerned of it. WandaVision, as far as the fantasy, action, adventure sort of thing. Like I think they hit on multiple times, but like I think if I'm like being honest with myself, Loki might be the only one that has multiple 5s as far as the genre is concerned. Like I think to those last 3 episodes, those are some epic action fantasies. You know what I'm saying? Like
purpose. I mean, like
especially that one. That was the first one I went to. Episode 5, Journey into Mystery. That might be the best focused narrative of a single episode across all of the MCU. Because they did tell a whole story. You know, I've said that was my gripe week after week. They told classic Loki's entire story in that episode, and it made it amazing.
Damn. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I think 4.85 is sitting right where it's supposed to here on this episode. It's like not quite there, but I mean, like everything it did well.
It hits. It definitely hits.
And I mean, hey, as a film here, I think this is the best made episode we've had so far, and the floor for that is 4.15, and I think I'm sitting higher than a 4.15 here.
I certainly am. I think this pushed the story forward in a way we hadn't seen yet. I know that my gripe with the other ones is that it didn't tell a complete narrative within the episode and continue on. But as far as within an MCU show is concerned, this did it as well as it's been done.
Visually, we finally got they did it. We got some nice shots. It was
soundtrack
nice
hit as always. Acting destroyed. The writing was actually, I'd say, much better than the last couple episodes. I think there were just moments that had a certain heart to it that we haven't gotten in the last couple. I mean, there's been some touching moments, but this one hit. I think I don't think there's any question about that. And therefore, as far as these are concerned, all this thing is 4.5 is my floor. 4.5 is my floor.
Okay. I was thinking like the 4.6, 4.75 is kind of like in between there is where I'm sitting. I think 4.8 may be a little bit too high. But I don't know. I guess, I mean,
I don't know. This
what am I complaining
really
about
made
here?
Episode.
Yeah, well, I don't know what I'm really complaining about.
No, yeah, I
maybe
think
4.75 like is kind of the.
I think 4.75, 4.8 is fair. The more we talk about it, the more we talk through it. This did push the narrative forward in a way we hadn't seen yet, in a way that is truly compelling for the first time in its weeks. I'm like, give me the next episode now. I that was one of my complaints in previous weeks, was that I'm like, Wednesday rolls around and I'm like, oh yeah, I have to watch Moon Knight. It even happened today before I turned it on. I was like, oh yeah, I have to watch Moon Knight. I can promise you I'll be ready next Wednesday.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
And I think that's important. I think that's really important. So I think 4.8 is definitely fair.
That's a high. I mean, it averages out to a 4.88, which is definitely the highest so far. Episode 1 being a 4.3. Previous episode 4.33 actually edging out the first episode. But this will be first. Interesting to see if it'll remain the king. I don't know.
If it doesn't, we're in for a treat, buddy.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I'm just interested to see what this season finale could bring. Like, what if there will be an obvious season 2, or if this will be like, nope, it's complete. This is it. I expect him. Moon Knight will continue in blank. Movie. Will appear in blank. I don't know. Or maybe it'll just say like the classic, Moon Knight will return.
That's where my money's at. I think this is a limited series. I think they plan on launching this character in whatever direction it'll go in. I think they will leave it in a place where it doesn't have to continue. My impression of it is that maybe by the end of it, he'll be Moon Knight again, which implies there are more Moon Knight stories to tell, but Amit will be dealt with. There will not be anything more with Arthur Harrow involving Moon Knight. Like, this narrative will be wrapped up, and we won't need to continue this story.
Do we even know if this is happening like post blip?
I suppose we don't. There hasn't been any allusions to the time period.
So it would be really interesting if this is like pre blip, and then like this is happening around like when the blip happened, and then Arthur just like
see him fade away.
Arthur like maybe takes credit like for the blip, like initially, like on Earth or something like that. He's like, this is the power of Amit. You see, like everyone was judged, and half of everyone was gone. Everyone's dead.
If that be the case, then I say season 2 definitely.
True. I'm not really camping there. I was just throwing the idea out, but
no, I love the idea. I love where your head's at.
I think this is post blip. I feel.
I think we're staying in the modern timeline, roughly where the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, in this range, sort of takes place, and I'm real excited, for these next couple weeks. I think if they can operate at this level for 2 more episodes, it'll shake out to be damn good. So, yeah, man, 4.88 out of 5. That's our highest rated episode so far by over half a point.
Damn. Strong. Very strong. Deserving, I think, though. Not too high for what this episode
certainly
was.
Deserving.
So.
Certainly deserving. But yeah, with that, we conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom podcast and the Moon Knight's Watch. It was I, Colton Robertson, and I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. If you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom. That's COROBLOOM, where you'll find over 24 hours of exclusive content, including just before this episode where we discussed the recent release of The Art of the Batman. I went over some pages in that, reviewed it a little bit. We talked to the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, and there's just a whole bunch of content over there. 24 hours of us being outrageous and speculating on Multiverse of Madness for a few of those hours. But yeah, definitely do that. That money all goes back into making sure I can make this podcast happen. Huge help. So that's always appreciated. And then if you would, head to Twitter, follow at Penny Bloom Pod, follow on Instagram at Penny Bloom Podcast. If you're fucking with me and Joe and you've made it this far into the podcast, I know you fuck with comic book characters. And just this Monday, guess what began on episode 201? Our top 100 comic book characters. This episode was 76 through 100. We go over, we begin our 4-part series, and it's a lot of fun. We just did it for Star Wars, beginning this one for Marvel and DC. And then on Fridays, we continue our 52-year journey through film. This Friday holds 1986's Aliens, which I'm very, very excited for you all to hear. That'll be episode 203. This was episode 202. We are in the 200s, which is fucking crazy to say. Like, episode 200, that is at minimum 200 hours of speaking into a microphone for me. So,
sick.
That's a lot. That is a lot. And with that, we conclude. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And always praise Keanu Reeves.